out the camera.
Now what
We all need to climb up on this.
I think it was being dual.
It's irrelevant to me. I can't see anything.
Okay, I think.
Wait, how are you doing that? Oh, on the screen.
Recording.
There you are.
Figured it out. I love it.
Okay.
Well,
Much
it's
better.
it's 6:30. Can y'all see us? Yeah, you can. Okay. Nice job, Trip. That was great.
That was fun.
You're now our tech champion for the group. Who do we have online? We have Marissa, Jess, Tara, Rachel. Great. We got a good group tonight. 6:31. We have a good agenda in front of us. A lot of fun stuff. Let's dive in. So I'll do a quick roll call. We'll start with folks in the room, and we'll go clockwise, and then we'll bounce to online. So Logan Dunning, present.
Joe Anderson, Council Liaison, present.
I'm Matthew Schultz, alternate, present.
Stephen Strawbridge, member, present.
Mel England, staff liaison, present.
Kathleen Bailey, just a citizen and joining in to watch, to listen.
Rick Emmelheinz, member, present.
Michael Chisholm, member, present.
Online, just popcorn it, please.
Rachel Pellia, member, present.
Tara Meininger, Martin and Wood Water Consultants, working for the city with Stephanie Ellis.
I'm Stephanie Ellis. I'm an engineer with the City of Inglewood Utilities Department.
Marissa Panning, member, present.
Jessica Hall, member, present.
Is that everybody? I don't want to mess with this. I think that's everybody. Great. Thanks, everyone. We have a quorum. Let's move to approval of minutes for the August meeting. Is there any commentary on our meeting last month? It was a good one. Hearing none, is there a motion? Do I hear a motion to approve the August minutes?
Motion.
Second. Seconded by Mike. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Hearing none, minutes approved. Hey, we had 2 minutes for that. We're ahead of schedule. Real quick, yeah, I just want to welcome a few guests before we dive in. Kathleen, thank you for joining us. Excited to have you hear some of your commentary on what we're talking about tonight. Thank you for being here. So we've got Tara and Stephanie on the call. Real quick before we dive into the water efficiency plan, I know we're tight on time there. We had a great tour of Depot Park last week that was hosted by Dana Liebert. I saw Mel there. Really cool stuff going on over there. It was really, really interesting to see all the progress that's been made because we toured that as Keep Inglewood Beautiful. I believe that was 2001. Was that right?
A couple of years ago.
Maybe even before then.
Yeah.
And
21?
Do what? What did I say?
2001?
Oh, no, that was,
That's what
I was
I
going to
heard.
say, I thought you said
I
70.
would have been 10. So, 21. And there's a lot of, now I'm red-faced. There's a lot of good progress that's been made there. And Dana is running a good show over there. If you haven't had a chance, reach out to Dana. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you about it and even show you the place. It's really cool. Let's see. So with that, I think we're starting off with the water efficiency plan presentation from Stephanie and from Tara. So I'll hand the mic over and let you take it from there, Stephanie. Good to see you again, and thanks for doing this for us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Let me just get this sharing. Make sure. Okay, are you guys able to see it?
Looks good.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. It's okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for having us back on. It's you know, it was really good to meet you guys when a lot of you toured the Allen Water Treatment Plant a few months ago. And yeah, I'm happy to be back and talking about the water efficiency plan. So, and apologies to Joe, you just saw this exact same presentation for at the Water and Sewer Board, so you'll be an expert on it now. I'd also like to introduce, I think she initially introduced herself at the beginning of the meeting, but I'd like to introduce Tara Meininger from Martin & Wood Water Consultants, and they are assisting us with updating our water efficiency plan. So yeah.
Great, welcome.
So just some background on the water efficiency plan. So the Water Conservation Act of 2004 requires water utilities to have a state-approved water efficiency plan that's updated every 7 years. Inglewood's first water efficiency plan and the last plan that we did was updated in 2013, so we are due for an update. Towards the end of 2021, the Utilities Department received a $20,000 grant from the Colorado Water Conservation Board to help update this plan. We kicked off the project in December of 2021 and have since been working on drafting the plan and revising it internally. Now it is out for public comment, and we're seeking input from various stakeholders, including the Sustainability Commission, as we finalize the plan. And some of those stakeholders outside of the Sustainability Commission include other utility staff, the Water and Sewer Board, City Council, the Community Development Department, the Colorado Water Conservation Board, and also the public. So just to kind of talk through this graph that you'll see here. So this pie chart, so you'll see this is our potable water use as a percentage of our potable water production. So basically comparing our data for what's billed at the meters to the water that's going out of the treatment plant and into the distribution system. So you can see single-family residential customers make up the largest percentage of our customer categories, and multifamily residential follows that. So a pretty large number of residential customers in the city. I also want to point out the unmeasured end-use water, that purple piece of the pie, and that is water that is measured leaving the Allen Water Treatment Plant, but is not measured at the customer tap. And so that includes both unmetered customers and also losses in the system. The municipal category is where all of the city facilities fall in, and then schools fall into that other category. So as you guys know, there are many benefits to water efficiency. This plan was developed with the focus on these benefits, such as sustainability, the potential to reduce water supply planning needs or water supply needs or capital investment, potential to reduce the water costs to the city and to customers, providing resource stewardship and drought resiliency, and making water supplies available for potential growth in the city. The 2022 draft water efficiency plan includes programs and provides a framework for Inglewood to target its water efficiency goals. And this plan will go through a 7-year implementation period, so about 2022 through 2029. And during this time period, we are targeting a 6% reduction in water demand. So currently the average water usage is 162 gallons per person per day. Our target by 2029 is 152 gallons per person per day. We think this target is both challenging but also achievable. There are 29 water efficiency measures in our draft plan, and they fit into 6 categories, including metering and billing, water loss control, staffing and planning, technical improvements and incentives, rules and ordinances, and customer education. We encourage you guys to read through our water efficiency plan and read about those 29 measures, but there are a few I'd like to highlight that just as examples and ones that I'm excited about. So one of them is we're proposing water fixture and appliance upgrades in municipal buildings. We're also wanting to increase communication with developers on water efficiency topics. As I think I've spoken to some of you about before, we want to convert our flat rate customers to metered service. We also want to go through a water reuse feasibility study, and we want to increase customer education both through materials online and also materials that we can provide to customers at events or in bills, etc. The graph that you'll see here shows Inglewood's projected potable water projection with and without water efficiency improvements. So you can see both lines are increasing, and that's because we estimate there being increased population in Inglewood. But you can also see that there's a large difference between the orange line and the blue line, where the orange line is what we project the water demand would be without water efficiency improvements, and the blue line is where we estimate that water demand will be with the efficiency improvements that we're proposing through this plan. So next steps. So we posted our water efficiency plan on an Inglewood Engaged page on August 18th with the goal of collecting comments from the community. And we're also trying to spread the word through, Water Sewer Board, Sustainability Commission, etc. We encourage you guys to go on and read our water efficiency plan, provide comments and feedback on it. You are more than welcome to send that directly to me, or you can comment directly on the Inglewood Engage page. In addition, we have hard copies in both rec centers, and people can provide comments, on the hard copies as well if they don't want to use the website. And we also sent out a notice in the most recent bills to let customers know they will be able to go in and view our plan and comment on it. So after this public comment period ends, which will be about mid-October, we're going to compile the responses, review them, and finalize our water efficiency plan. We once it's finalized, we're going to bring it to the Inglewood Water and Sewer Board and City Council for final approval. And we will also take it to the Colorado Water Conservation Board for their final approval, and they are also reviewing that draft plan right now. And once everything is approved, we will go forward and implement these projects through that 7-year implementation period. So yeah, do you guys have any questions? And I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you guys.
I bet we do have a few questions. This group is very interested in water, all things water. So thank you for that. That was a wonderful presentation and a wonderful overview. Mike, you had your question, your hand raised right next to you. Why don't you kick us off? And let's try and keep maybe one or two questions and try and keep it succinct. It's my favorite word with this group. Just do our best. We want to be cognizant of their time this evening so we can do the rest of our agenda. So go for it, Mike. Kick us off, please.
Very quickly. Great job. I think the plan's terrific. Good work, you guys. Question, water reuse study, that just piqued my ears when I heard you say that. I wondered what that's about. And the other question is, Inglewood High School baseball field, soccer field, is that non-potable water to water that expanse of grass?
Yeah, those are great questions. So the first one for the water reuse feasibility study. So that basically the goal of that would be to conduct a study to see if we can feasibly reuse water in Inglewood. So I imagine that study would involve looking at our water rights, evaluating, if they allow for us to reuse water, and then also evaluating the potential infrastructure that would need to be associated with a reuse system. And so, yeah, the goal in the next 7 years is to do that study, figure out if that is a future project that could be implemented.
Okay.
And then regarding your question on the schools, so there are several of our parks in Inglewood and also the golf course are watered with non-potable water. And so for those, the city has wells that are used and yeah, that's non-potable water. I don't believe and correct me if I'm wrong, Tara, but I don't believe Inglewood, the Inglewood schools use non-potable water.
I was never aware that they did, but I haven't gone through the customer meter records to confirm that the schools are on that list. So I'm pretty sure they use potable water, but I haven't confirmed.
Rick.
I have a question. Stephanie, what's low-hanging fruit here? What do you think that we could go after and make a big dent in right away?
Yeah, like of our proposed measures.
Of the proposals, yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely some low-hanging fruit on there. Some of them that I think are definitely some quick wins. Or we want to create a web page for developers to show them basically here's how you can be efficient with your water and your proposed development. There's quite a bit of development going into Inglewood, as probably a lot of you guys have seen. So I think, you know, having that web page, and we also have the same city staff, which is me and a few others, work on both water efficiency projects and our development reviews. So we have that close coordination and can provide them with that information. And in addition to that, I think there are certain projects that we can implement, such as joining or becoming a partner with EPA's WaterSense. That's something that would give us access to promotional materials and things that we can have at like booths when we go out there, or provide bill stuffers, things like that, just educational materials for customers. I think those are some of the real easy wins. I'm gonna double check our project list really quick. Tara, do you want to add to that?
I thought that, you know, getting those municipal buildings, some upgraded fixtures might be a both good public relations and makes a little dent in a public way.
Mel, what was your comment?
Oh, the WaterSense program's also free, so
We love
Yeah.
free.
free resources right there.
Yes.
Who else? Anybody right now?
I've got a second.
Follow up, go for it.
I'm concerned by the 13% unmeasured. That's a hunk of water. And I think I'd mentioned a couple meetings ago that I know of people that have moved into the area that have not been moved from unrestricted water to metered water. What's the plan moving forward to get those people moved over? I'm guessing that's a hunk of this.
Yeah. So in order to have better estimates of water losses in our system and customer usage, it is a high priority to get all of our customers on to metered accounts. I believe we have approximately 1,200 customers still unmetered at this point. It is there's an existing ordinance that requires, when property ownership changes, those owners are required to get a meter. And so, you know, as properties sell, that's something that's already happening. In addition, the utilities team is looking at a more proactive approach to that and trying to get those upgraded sooner. I don't know if we have an exact timeline on that, although I think that is the intent of that, is to do it by the end of this implementation period, I believe. But it does take some time to get that with all of our customer metered accounts, or with all of our customers who are unmetered.
Good, Rick. Real quick, Christine Brinker is present. Just wanted to note that, thank you. And hi, Dana, you have your hand raised.
Hi. Thanks. Hi, Stephanie and Tara again. So I have several questions. First, was there a targeted reduction in the 2013 plan? And if so, was that met? How much was it, and was that met?
Tara, do you know that off the top of your head, or would we have to check?
There was a targeted reduction, and Inglewood's residential per capita water use has decreased 15% or so since that plan. The total citywide per capita water use has not decreased since that time. So in one sense, perhaps the targets from 2013 were not met in that sense, but at least residential water efficiency has been improving.
And what do you attribute, were there specific plans that you attribute that 15% reduction to? Or did it have to do with the price increase?
My suspicion is it's probably more likely passive savings. I can't say that it wasn't due to what the things Inglewood was doing, but there's been a lot of passive savings on the Front Range in the last 20 years. And most municipalities have benefited from that in some way or another. By a lot of it is replacement of old toilets. There are new standards statewide that don't allow toilets above a certain gallons per flush to be sold in the state. So anytime someone replaces a toilet, it's going to be a lot better than what it was probably. And passive savings like that likely accounted for a lot of it.
Okay.
I'll
Go
also,
ahead.
I was just going to add too that I do know as a result of the 2013 plan, Inglewood Utilities created a webpage for water efficiency. It's just on our utilities website, there's a page for that. And so potentially those residential customers were, made aware of that page and were able to learn a few things from that.
Do you have any tracking of traffic on that page? And know if there are site visits?
So they changed the utilities web, like the entire, or I guess not just utilities, the whole city website changed over, I think, to a new platform maybe last year. And so I'm not entirely sure if they have tracking of, previous to that, but I do think that there's tracking that we can get for, current usage on that new page. Along with the Inglewood Engage page. So if that is something you're interested in, we could definitely share that with Mel and have her communicate that.
I was just curious because when I read the report, I tried to find that page and it's fairly buried. And also it doesn't have anything about landscaping efficiencies. It's all about, about how you landscape. It's all about irrigation, irrigating turf.
Yeah, and we're definitely open to suggestions for updating that page if if you have any.
Okay, I have many more questions, but I'll just ask one more to not overuse my time. So the largest single user is residential single family with 37%. And well, I have a two-part question. One, do you have a breakdown of what percentage of that is outdoor irrigation? And given that small percentage of users, the 9% who are huge outliers, like something like 60% use under 100 or 150,000 gallons. And then there's 9% of users who use over 300,000 gallons. And so that made me wonder why water rate structuring wasn't considered as an incentive to reduce that use with the outliers.
So I'll let Tara, do you want to take the first question about the outdoor versus indoor?
Sure. Well, what I heard her talking about was the amount of use per customer, or did I miss the first part? That there's a 9% of customers use
Yes.
a lot less water than top 1%.
No. Well, the 9% use a lot more. A lot.
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
Was that? I can affirm that sounds correct to me from what's in the plan.
Yeah, the plan shows 9% of users use over 300,000 gallons, and a total of 68% use under 100,000. Right. So there's this tiny, 9% using a very disproportionate use amount. So it seems like there's savings to be had by incentivizing those people negatively by a tiered pricing system. Does that make, am I articulating that clearly? No.
I think that makes sense, and I can answer the question on the rate structure. So I believe what we have now for a rate structure is not ideal for water efficiency. If you look at our rate structure that we have on our website, I believe it's, after you hit a certain amount of water used, I think it's actually cheaper per 1,000 gallons. The Inglewood's utilities rate and fees were updated, I believe in 2020 through a rate and fee study. And, I'm not sure if that was something that was considered at that time. For our water efficiency plan in particular, over these next 7 years, we are trying to prioritize projects based on staff availability, our funding, and then also, what we think we can reasonably achieve given a large number of capital projects that we have just to upgrade our very old infrastructure, as the utility didn't do hardly anything for many years. And so given this large amount of work we have to do just to get our utility upgraded, we wanted to target water efficiency measures that we would be able to reasonably achieve. And so, and also that would be appropriate and accepted by, city council and our customers and yeah, just the city in general. So I do think that's a great idea, and definitely something we can consider and take back to our team to see if that is something that the group would want to consider for, as we finalize the plan.
Mike, what you got?
Thank you.
I just have to ask a simple question. If 9% of the users are using a disproportionate share of water, you have a regressive tax structure rate on the water, why wouldn't you just simply go after the rate increase for the people over 300,000 units and take that money and give water meters to people who don't want to spend money on a water meter? I mean, it could be budget neutral, and I don't know how many you could do, but good Lord, just having those people pay their fair share would have to generate a lot of money.
Thank you. That was what I was trying to say, Michael.
Yeah, so I will add that we do have some incentives now for customers to, basically it's called test drive a water meter. And so we actually have a program now where customers can test drive their water, try out a water meter, and then we will show them what their bill would look like with that water meter and what it would look like without that water meter. And customers can choose to, after the program is over for them, they can choose whether or not they want to keep their meter. And most customers that do that program actually, who were on a flat rate, end up seeing water savings for themselves. They actually use a lot less water than what we bill them for. And so I will add that those flat rate customers aren't necessarily the high water users in every circumstance. I think they definitely could be. And it is a priority to still get those changed over. In addition, changing our rates is quite a process that we have to go through. And I could follow up with the rest of my team to find out exactly how this process worked back in 2020, as I wasn't here. But I believe, they went through a whole study, had to compare to neighboring cities, and then those proposed rates and fees had to go through approval with Water Sewer Board and City Council. And so I think it is quite a lift to change that. And so it's not necessarily a quick change, but I do think that is a good idea to generate more revenue. And one thing that I am aware of is that I believe the city has been seeking various grant opportunities for a lot of our projects, but I think including converting our flat rate customers. So that is something that is being pursued right now and will continue to be pursued.
Thank you for that. That's a great answer. Do you have a follow-up to that
I
specifically?
have a
Rick?
follow-up to that. Can you address what the meter assistance program is? It's referred to, I believe, in your program 1 here. Is that something that assists people that are of low income, that converting to meters might actually be a financial hardship? Is there some program in place that could be utilized here?
Yeah, so I believe the meter assistance program does help customers pay for a new water meter. Tara, do you remember the, exact parameters of that?
Yeah, I'll look that up. And just to speak to the last comment, I think that there's potentially a political element to changing water rate structures in any city. And perhaps the people on this committee are equipped to talk to the people in power. It's not exactly staff choice of how to change water rate structures. It's a lot to do with citywide decisions that leadership can influence.
That's helpful, and that is a good transition to my question. That's the role I really see this commission playing is informing and advising. So I had noted, customer education, and I have opportunities to collaborate, ? And I think I mentioned this to you, Stephanie, after our water treatment plant tour. And so on any of the aforementioned, we would love if you guys wanted to run something by us, whether it is public education initiatives or, one-pager information sheets, or if you're just looking for feedback on a proposal regarding tiered water rates, something like that. I just wanted to put that into the space and know that we're here to talk through that and advise however we can. My question.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. We are at 7:01, but one question, and Stephanie, this is also something that I asked you during our tour. Regarding that 13% water loss, was that determined through an audit? And if so, what process did you all use, or is that still ongoing? Is that audit still ongoing?
Stephanie, do you want me to take
Yeah,
this?
I can speak to the water audit we just did. I'll let you first speak to how that was determined in the plan.
It was not a full audit, but it was the difference between what was metered out of the plant and the sum of what was metered at all the customer meters.
Okay.
And so speaking to the water loss audit, we did complete our water loss audit this summer using the recommended American Water Works Association method. And with that, our numbers looked a little bit different because we had to estimate what those flat rate customers used. And so basically, in the water efficiency plan, that 13%, like Tara said, is just the difference between what we show going out of the plant and what's at the customer meters. What we had to do for our water loss audit was a little more specific, and we had to basically, estimate what those unmetered customers were using, which we did based on an average of their customer categories. And then, and with that estimate combined with the metered water use, the numbers looked a little bit different. And we actually, I think I mentioned this in the tour, it looks like we have negative losses in our system. I think that some of that might be due to inaccurate meters, particularly on our finished water meter leaving the plant. And so that is a project I think one of my coworkers is working on, replacing that meter going out of the plant, so that will hopefully give us better numbers. And in addition, I also met with the state about our water loss audit this summer and discussed with them, and last summer too, because we had similar results, and discussed with them ways that we could improve it. And they, given the information we have, they were actually very pleased. We received a lot of positive feedback from the state on how we went about our water loss audit, given it being the first time we've done it using the AWWA method. And but they didn't have any particular suggestions for how to help with estimating our flat rate customers. So just continuing to, hopefully replace that finished water meter, which I'm hoping we'll get soon. And then also giving our flat rate customers meters and getting them converted, I think will help us have better numbers in our water loss audits.
That's a great answer. And last follow-up for me, and then Christine, just a few minutes left here. Do you plan on doing another water audit in the near future, or the next couple of years or decade, or what?
Yes. So this is, well, I guess first off, I'll mention it is required that we do a water loss audit for the state every year. So it's an annual thing just based on the requirements of that. But also our team has chosen to go above and beyond when we do it. And we weren't required this year to do it by the AWWA methodology. We actually, me and one of my other coworkers participated in a program called the Colorado Water Loss Initiative, where we received training early this year on how to conduct a water loss audit using the AWWA methodology. And so we received training on that. Then we worked on our water loss audit and then circled back with the state. They reviewed basically our raw data and where we got to on our water loss audit, provided some suggestions, and that's where we received that very positive feedback from them on that. So we just had that meeting, I think, towards the end of July, and then submitted our final water loss data to the state after that. So So yeah, it is an annual thing and it's required, but also we want to continue going about doing it using the AWWA method because, we think it provides better information and it is a little more in-depth, I think, than just what the state asks for.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. I agree that M36 is probably should be the industry best practice. Christine.
The municipal code that says you have to add a meter when you buy a new property, how's that enforced? And then my next question is about how I had heard a number of years ago, Denver Water was paying for toilet replacements for really old, heavy water using toilets. Is that at all considered in the plan?
Yeah, so those are great questions. So for your first question, how we are enforcing that, I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure, and I can track down that answer and get back to you guys. I think that it has to do with when they change the data in the billing system, they're able to track that, but I can follow up on that one and let you guys know. And then regarding your second question on the incentives for toilets, so we, as part of this water efficiency plan, our group within utilities and various staff across our whole department met and discussed possible water efficiency measures. And we were targeting measures that had the highest impact or were low-hanging fruits and projects that we could feasibly complete in the coming years. And so we did evaluate a few incentives, such as that one, or I think another popular one is Garden in the Box. And so we did evaluate some of those programs, and it was, those are compared to a lot of the projects that we do need to implement and that we think are very important for water efficiency, such as the flat rate meter conversion. Those were deemed a little bit lower priority, and we didn't include them in this draft plan. However, we're still open to those, and the draft plan doesn't limit us to what we're able to do. We can do more than what's in the plan, but the draft plan is our target basically for the next few years. But we are still open to, suggestions, and that's definitely some feedback we're open to if you want to provide, and we can talk with our team more about that type of program as well as we're finalizing the plan.
Maybe one more question from the group, if any. Dana, one last question. Or yes, Tara, real quick.
I will say that the Inglewood meter assistance program takes the difference between what you pay for the flat rate and what you would pay for the metered rate and uses that money to help pay the cost of installing the water meter.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana, bring it home.
So the plan says that these projections in the plan are based on an assumption that 2029 climate and water demand conditions will be similar to 2017 through 2021. The 2014 report on climate change in Colorado projects a statewide warming between 2.5 degrees to 6.5 degrees by 2050. And there are many ways, of course, this is going to affect water with having hotter and drier summers and more of our snowpack vaporizing before it hits our rivers. So I'm curious about that decision. If you could address that.
Stephanie, do you want me to address? I mean,
Yes, please.
there was sort of a conscious decision made at some point to acknowledge that future climate conditions are unknown, but not to address climate change directly in the plan. And that's partly, and really that 2029 projection of demand is what I was saying is not that it would be it's just average conditions. So if 2029 is a very dry year, we'd expect demands, 20 to 30% higher than that. And if it's a wet year, potentially 10% less. That's sort of the typical range of Inglewood's demands from wet to dry years. I don't know if that answers the question.
Thanks, Tara. Rachel, Melissa, I want to give you all just a quick second if you do have a question. If not, no worries. We'll wrap up.
Yeah, thank you. I think everyone asked what I was thinking, so I'm good.
Love that. Marissa, anything? I just can't see you, that's why I asked. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Jess, I didn't forget you either.
Nope, all set.
Great.
Thank you, Evan.
Stephanie, Tara, thank you. I think this was wonderful information for us to have. There are, I presume there are many follow-ups and that we can channel through Mel to the both of you. Reach out to us if we can be a resource. I'd like that to be a two-way street. I know we'll have some follow-up questions and we'd love to advise on a few things that were discussed tonight. Help us help you. So with that, thank you guys for being here tonight. I think this was a wonderful conversation and I certainly have some good takeaways. So thank you both.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us, and we just appreciate your interest and insight into this project, and specifically wanted your feedback on it. So we'd love to hear from you guys if you have additional questions or comments on it, and yeah, feel free to send them through Mel, or if you wanted to comment on that Inglewood Engage page, you're also welcome to do that. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks to you both. Okay, thanks guys, that was great. I've been wanting to hear from them for a couple of months, so I'm glad we got that on the books. Next up, we have let's have a quick discussion about subcommittees and slash study groups. And Mel, you can help here. We talked about it. We've been talking about it for about 2 months, and we worked to establish a subcommittee, a native landscaping, if I recall correctly, subcommittee last month. Through conversations between Mel and myself and Mel and the city attorney, it seems like there are two options. A formal subcommittee, which if we met, we would have to formally call a meeting, and that just, the logistics seemed tricky about that. But if we wanted to, we could have, to still be obeying open meeting laws in Colorado, we could have maybe 1 to 2 members meeting with members of the community, and that would be more of a study group. And the study group can also report back their findings and their research to the commission. Is that accurate?
Yep, so 1 to 2 members can meet, but 3 or more,
Okay.
you would need an official meeting.
So a subcommittee would need an official meeting anytime that we
Yep, so our city attorney recommended, like, if there's something of interest, people could do their own kind of like hub kind of homework and bring it to the larger group, but.
But a study group is allowed. If Mike and I wanted to meet with Dana, or if Rachel wanted to chat with Kathleen about something,
Yep.
they can converse and then present their findings in tandem to the group. Is that accurate? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. If there's any further discussion there, great. That's still a tool. Subcommittees are still a tool in our toolbox, and we can use that as needed. So please, if you have any ideas around that, please don't be afraid to bring it up at any point. So I just wanted to have that clarification into the minutes. Any other thoughts there? Anything online? Am I missing anybody? Okay, real quick, and I'll kick us off here. I did want to have a quick conversation about the GoEV action plan and sort of debrief that. So I just want to take a few minutes to discuss the vote by City Council last week that ultimately resulted in I think it was a 4-3 against the adoption of the GoEV resolution that this commission put forward for consideration. So I went back and listened to the minutes. I will say that it was a thoughtful discussion by City Council, and Mel, thank you for being there, and the EV representative and City Manager Sean Lewis. It was a thoughtful discussion. That's not to say that I'm not personally disappointed by the result, but I do want to say that I'm thankful for the work that Mel put into that initiative, that Christine put into it, that this whole commission put into that measure. There were several amendments there at the end that were made to the resolution by City Council, sort of in an attempt to satisfy some concerns that were raised. Unfortunately, it still did not, those amendments did not change the final vote. So I just think we should take a few minutes to discuss that and what we as a commission, so that we can determine sort of our next steps and our involvement in the process going forward. again, I thought there were several good points asked, or several good points raised and several good questions asked during that discussion. And I think hearing a bit of clarification and a summary from Councilman Anderson would be helpful for our group to sort of wrap our head around that. So I'll stop there. Councilman Anderson, if you would walk us through sort of a high-level summary of how that council discussion went, your takeaways, and I would appreciate the thought process behind your vote on the measure. And I think that would help bring us up to speed on next steps that are taken by the city.
Well, first of all, and I said this in the council meeting, I'm really thankful for all the work that the Sustainability Commission and Mel put into it. And I was careful, anything you guys are going to bring before council, I want to be careful sitting on the commission to not try to inject my ideas into it or something like that before it comes to council. So if it's something like this happens and it comes as a surprise to you that I voted that way, that's mostly because I just want to keep what comes to council from our boards and commissions. I think we all on the city council really want it to be a true representation. So I didn't want to try to get in and say anything in the process that would really change the outcome of that. That being said, after you guys had done it, there was a lot of excitement about it, I know, and a lot of energy that went into it. I didn't really know how I was going to vote. I had to really think on that one. And in the end, I can speak some to what I heard other council members saying, but I could obviously speak most directly to why I ended up voting against it. And the main reason I would say is just looking at the actual language of the resolution. I have, it has this, the EV action plan will include the following goals. And then it has a very ambitious list of things. And I felt like it would be a bit disingenuous for me to vote for this and then come the time, vote on yes on this and then come time to pass an EV action plan and not feel like I can really support some of the measures that went into it. So for me, I think I'm supportive of an EV action plan, depending on what the content of it is. And I get the sense that council as a whole is. The ones that I think really jumped out as, what are we committing ourselves to on this plan if we say we're going to, work with the local transit, how much energy is going to go into working with local transit agencies, working with taxis and transportation network companies. Kind of what I saw in those things is this is going to require, if we include all of these, every single one of these things in an EV action plan, it's going to require a fair amount of energy and focus. And I'm concerned that that's going to use up resources that could be used on other sustainability initiatives and other things like that, and so I would rather than kind of pre-commit ourselves to a certain shape of an action plan, I'd rather have a debate on what that action plan should actually contain when the time comes. So that was kind of my main reasoning is it sounds like this is going to be a lot of work, require a lot of staff time once the action plan is in place. And I question how much difference it's going to make, how much difference are we going to be able to make talking to Uber and Lyft and giving, we're a small city, like is that really a good place to put our energy? Are we going to be able to make a difference talking to the school districts about electric buses when there are a whole bunch of issues that infrastructure issues and different kinds of problems that go into that. And kind of my guess is that we could put a lot of energy into it and it really wouldn't change the timeline of how things get done in terms of converting to electric vehicles over the long run. So, and something I had said in the meeting is there are some hurdles before, as a society, we're 100% EV. And I think once those hurdles are kind of solved, like grid-wide issues and then technology and price kind of considerations for electric vehicles, once those problems are solved, I think it's totally unstoppable and you couldn't speed it up, no matter how much effort you put into it. But until those things are solved, I think you're kind of pushing uphill on some stuff. So I like small, really small achievable goals. The idea of let's get to 100% EV, it's a great idea, but it sounds like a lot of energy that may be ultimately disappointing. So, I'd love to see like an electric bike, program or something like that in Inglewood to get people that aren't not driving their car, not driving their cars all the time. So one of the things that I think is a huge impact on sustainability that we don't often think about is just how do we create an urban environment that's really enjoyable to walk around in, and where you can actually get stuff done without having to take. So those are the things that really interest me, and I was just afraid of pre-committing myself to something I wouldn't ultimately be able to support in the end. In terms of the action plan, I think Chelsea had similar. Her concern is, one of her big concerns is we're committing ourselves to a lot of things, but what do we really get out of it from the organization as a whole? And the gentleman's response, I can't remember his name, was there with the GoEV. He said, we'll get access to some webinars and that kind of thing. And I think it was unclear to Chelsea whether there was, pre-committing to this stuff was really what benefit we were really getting from other than kind of that GoEV stamp on the city. And so that was kind of her reasoning behind it as far as I could tell. But for me, this was in the end, the decision to vote against it was kind of a personal conscience, what I felt like I could really do the right, I wanted to vote for it, honestly, because I love you guys and the work you're putting into all this stuff, and I hate the thought of having to come back here and explain myself. But ultimately, I just couldn't quite get there, and it was, so it was disappointing. I don't think anybody left that vote going, yes, we won, or something like that. It was more like, wish we didn't have to have it go down that way. But I don't know, that's just, I'm trying to be true to what I'm convinced of and where I see myself. So I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, because it's no fun for me to do that. I have played a role in helping this commission go from being KB to being the Sustainability Commission. I really appreciate the work you guys put in on everything. So anyway, this is part of apology, I guess. But yeah, I'm open to questions.
Real quick. First of all, I think this is a good example of our role, your role, how do we work together? And speaking for myself, there is absolutely no pressure, accountability issue. You vote your conscience. That's absolutely what you're supposed to do. We can agree to disagree. So that's all healthy. I respect that. I would say this. You're a great listener, but I would like your 2 cents or your insight on some of this. So for example, instead of saying, I'm not going to vote for that, you could say, guys, a couple things I'm thinking about. I haven't even resolved it in my own mind. That would help me, and I think it would help us if we had, you have insight, and you have access to more information than we have. So you might just bring something up for consideration that we didn't know about. So I hope you get more comfortable sharing things with us. And there's no contract that you have to vote the way we want you to vote. Sure. The other point is resolutions versus recommendations, and I don't know where that resolution came from, so I have to say I was a little bit in the dark about that whole thing. I think we spent a lot of time fine-tuning and trying to articulate a resolution when maybe what we should be doing is be less granular and more strategic. So for example, on the EV plan, instead of us working on that resolution, my thought was, hey, we think it's a great idea. We hope we do something. I'm oversimplifying it, but tonight we heard about water, and I'm whispering to my compatriots here, and I'm saying, could our committee make a recommendation on that study and water rates? Well, what is that? Is that a resolution? Is that a recommendation? Is that a good idea? I don't think it's our position to tell the city how to do it, but I think it's our position to say, we think this is a great idea, or we'd sure like to see the city do something in this regard. So, I mean, is there something in there where, how can we be most effective? how granular should we be when we write a resolution, and how strategic long range should we be when we talk about low water landscaping?
Yeah. Well, I think this resolution was very detailed, and I know some of that is attributable to what GoEV, what's required to become a GoEV city. And so I don't know if there's much that, could have been done about that, though I think, in terms of, moving something forward to council, you're going from a group of people here who are very passionate about sustainability to a mix on city council, and also a sense of on council, there's always a balancing act. What are we willing to fund? How much staff time do we want to invest in a certain project? What's the opportunity cost of that? And I think that's where this one really kind of broke down for council it kind of felt like a big ask. It's committing to that stuff on an action plan. So I think something, a resolution supporting an EV action plan with a little less specificity would probably had a higher chance of passing council. I think I would have certainly supported something as I think a number of the things in there, including we need to evaluate we're talking about potentially redeveloping the city center. When we do that, we should evaluate where, what do we have sufficient electrical infrastructure in here? Where would be the right place to put an EV charging station in the civic center? Those are really practical questions that we should definitely be thinking about them. And some of that was recommended in the action or in the GoEV resolution. So in terms of the water stuff, I'm not sure what to say about the water rates. I think they kind of our representatives from the water department kind of hinted at this, but we have done a series of long-term studies on water rate and water rate and fee, and how much we want those to increase over time. How do we keep up with inflation? How do we fund our infrastructure improvements and all of those things? So big changes to those rates and fees would probably get some resistance from staff because they're working off of a strategic plan in terms of rates and fees, but and then council as well. This is something we have like a 25-year plan in terms of how our rate and fees will increase and how that plays into our WIFIA funding where we're borrowing money. And so anyway, all that to say, a recommendation that goes against a massive strategic plan in another department is probably going to meet resistance from a department within the city, even though they're supportive of water efficiency as well.
Yes. Just to dovetail into that, I'm sorry we're walking away from this thing, but would it be wise or advisable for this committee to evaluate that water plan and say, these are the things which we feel are the strongest, are the things which would be priorities from a citizen's perspective, and do that versus, like you said, doing an end around?
Absolutely, and I think this water efficiency plan is a perfect example of a chance for, this plan will eventually come to council. I don't know what the timeline is on that. It may be pretty soon. But when it comes, if it comes with, it's going to come with a recommendation from the Water and Sewer Board. And if it can't, it can also certainly come with, here are ideas on it from the Sustainability Commission, things to emphasize or things we agree with, or a short paragraph that could go in a staff memo when it's presented to council, I think would be really helpful. Christine?
I think Mike said it. Yeah, I think it'd be helpful too to hear what you're thinking as we're going along. And maybe there's some things we could have fixed, take out Uber and Lyft if we knew that was going to be a contentious part or something like that.
Well, and honestly, I think part of the reason is I thought it was going to pass with or without my vote. I was kind of surprised at how it went down. And so I think had I thought that, if my thought sitting here while we're discussing that was, there's no way this is going to pass council, I would have said that.
Yeah,
So
that makes
that
sense.
kind of, I think that affected it a little bit for how much I wanted to weigh in on it. But
Yeah.
I do think I take that feedback seriously. I would, if you guys want to hear more from me,
Yeah.
I'm happy to say it. I just don't want to influence,
I
much
pictured that you were a full-fledged member essentially with an equal opinion here.
Absolutely. I think this sentiment toward you, Councilman, is translatable to everyone on this commission. And I think I've said this since we became the Sustainability Commission is opinions and positions on matters that we take up have, from all of us, have weight here. Whether they're dissenting opinions or affirming opinions, I find value in those. I think we all do. And I certainly want to make sure that this is a space for the public, for our council liaison, and for members of this commission to bring those opinions and not feel like they're squashing any sort of perceived momentum that we might have behind an initiative. That should not factor in. I would ask that it not factor in to anyone here speaking their opinion. And I just wanted to put that into the space. I personally, obviously I was disappointed with the vote. I thought that it was at least a good starting point. And my understanding is that the city will still move forward with their own EV action plan. I don't know the timeline for that or the logistics.
Well, the commission will be involved in that certainly, right?
That's certainly my hope.
Yeah, because Christina's on our planning.
Great. I just to speak my opinion real quick, I thought it was a good starting point, at least a good point of reference for when that initiative is taken on by the city is like, hey, these are the goals and the metrics that the Sustainability Commission wants to see. Perhaps we can craft and amend that to become a workable product that council would accept. And that was my idea of sending this to council. I guess I needed a clarifying conversation that I'm hearing that that the resolution was binding. I'm hearing that it wasn't binding. And so I'm a little confused there. I thought this was sort of a guiding document to the future EV action plan.
I think I could speak to that a little bit in that resolutions are never they're never really binding in the sense that if you change, council changes their mind down the road and wants to do something different, then you're not, it's not like you're breaking a law, However, when I'm putting my personal vote on, yes, I agree with this, and the resolution says the EV action plan will include, and then there's some things under that bullet point, while, I could, it's not binding in the sense that we'd be breaking a law. I would be signing my name to something that I actually don't 100% agree with. So does that clarify? It's more about, I want to be consistent.
Absolutely. And I will meet you there. I'm an advocate of that. Future, going forward, if we do give a resolution to council in the future, when and if, should we soften that initial language? It sounds like that's sort of the consensus.
If that's something that would have, that would have passed muster with the GoEV, then I think that would have helped. We will consider the following, things.
We will consider.
Yeah, or something, that would be a lot easier for me to support some of those measures, if the language was dialed back from we will and, we will include the following.
That's great. That's great feedback. The back and forth that I heard on council, it was helpful. There were points raised that weren't maybe brought up here, and maybe I rushed that portion of the meeting a few months ago. I'm not sure, but that deliberation that council had for 45 minutes, I know we're time restricted a little bit at these commission meetings, but I would love to have that be here and not right before a vote, respectfully. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. I don't know if anyone else has any further comments. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a process question. Is it just on ordinances that city council can offer amendments, or could count? I didn't get to watch this.
We can amend anything, and there were amendments offered, and the amendments did indeed pass, but it wasn't enough to bring along another vote.
Okay.
And besides clarifying what we're committing to versus what we're aiming for. The other flag that I caught was whether we say 100% EV, that caught up Mayor Pro Tem Ward, because we have classic cars and so forth that may never be EVs. So maybe if it was to the highest degree possible, or most cars are EVs or something like that, rather than black and white, all or none.
Right.
So I thought that that was something that would be applicable to not just this resolution, but probably a lot of our work.
That's a good thought.
Any other thoughts? Kathleen, please.
One of the little things that I got excited about reading what you brought forward was the idea of providing the electric power through solar or wind or something for us. Because to me, I got excited about that because all cities are going to need to start thinking about how to begin to produce, some electricity within their communities. And even if you just started on a project saying, we're going to see about where we can set up enough solar panels. I doubt if we could put wind stuff up, maybe along Broadway. I mean, I love wind, but put some solar panels up and have a, target. Let's see if we can begin to produce an electric charging station totally powered by solar panels for a small portion of the fleet or for a specific fleet or something where you're starting incrementally to transition and everybody gets an opportunity to see how that works or to see the difference that you're saving in whatever you're spending on gas for the budget for whatever that fleet was. I mean, I just got really excited about that because that's the first time I've heard. I mean, we aren't utilizing solar power enough I didn't see any solar power in any buildings that are planned for the DDA. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, to me, if you're going to be doing this massive development, I as a citizen, as an environmentalist, want to see, as a hobby, I don't make a living off environmental, but I want to see the embracing and the saying, hey, we are doing this construction, let's construct it with utilizing solar power. Let's utilize what we can. Or, like I said, if it's even possible, mini wind farms, anything. But anything to get off power stations, using coal, natural gas, and even atomic power to produce our electricity. Anything to begin an incremental change, I am excited for. There's just a little teeny piece I'm going out, that's all.
Rick, real quick.
Real quick dovetail. I think that Excel is on that. I think that Excel is making it more possible for people to do their own solar by giving the incentives, by giving the discounts, which will now be extended.
Will the city take advantage of that?
Well, and that's where I'm going is that,
perfect.
If there were a conversation with Excel regarding the opportunity to do that, I think that's a beautiful first step.
I think Mel.
Excel is who's partnering it with us on the plan, so they can definitely be asked that question.
Like what you
Do you
got?
think the DDA, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to support what you're saying. There's a lot of rooftop.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rooftop going into this new project. Biggest challenge is where do you put the solar panels? So, that's just.
The DDA is very interested in sustainability. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Erica Zergi, she's the chair of the DDA, and it is her top issue, when it comes to the redevelopment. I've had conversations with her about it, so I am sure that she's going to be advocating for, for anything that we can.
There's nothing written in there yet, because I read the details. Nothing written saying, hey, we're going to target this site of the DDA as solar done, or this many residents as solar.
I don't think they're really quite to that place yet, but I do know that DDA has spoke to the developer and said we want more of, sustainability.
Shouldn't we be demanding it?
I mean, That's a good question. I guess we'll see when the time comes out.
Because developers
You know,
want to spend as least
Yeah,
amount of money as possible to do anything.
That's exactly right.
I will support that. And we've, Erica came and spoke to an Inglewood engaged group late last year. She's a wonderful voice in the community. I would love to have her, if she's the chairwoman, I'd love to have her even come speak to the group at some point. She's a wonderful Inglewoodian. Any other thoughts on this GoEV, either retroactive to the council discussion or looking forward? Like I said, it sounds like the city is preparing to develop an EV action plan in the future. And I'd certainly like to be at the table for that conversation and continue to advise. That seems like our role.
And I think on like this is one of the, I think the benefits of kind of how this went down, the discussion you guys saw, is you're now aware of what kind of things will cause heartburn for certain council members, those good things in building that action plan. So hopefully, I want to be supportive of an EV action plan, and hopefully we can find something that'll kind of work for city council.
Which we are doing. We are doing the action plan.
Thank you, Mel.
I didn't want confusion there, but we are starting the process.
So I think it's been a good discussion. Thank you for engaging. Let me just put a quick cap on this so we can sort of get to the rest of our agenda. And I'll reiterate, differing opinions are not only welcome, but encouraged and valued. And I think that as we knew coming into January as a new commission, there would be growing pains. Perhaps here we are. I think there's some tangible takeaways going forward that we can apply to future conversations. I think that the more robust the conversation we can have here in these meetings on any given topic, the more well-rounded and sharper product that we can either provide to the public or send to council for consideration. And I think that's important, but that's all for me. So I think we can go on to the next agenda item, which is household hazardous waste.
Okay,
Mel.
this will be fast. Hopefully you all saw the email that we had to reschedule. So instead of the 10th, that would have already happened, it is the 17th and 24th. Veolia, which is a contractor who they had operations issue, which is why we had to switch. They should be supplying all, if not many of the volunteers for the 24th. But if I hear otherwise, I'll reach out to y'all to see if you want to. No obligation to come. And Mike, I listened to your comment a few months back, how you wanted signage. So we have signage saying the price for what people have to pay. So that will be there.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Any questions about that? That's all I got for household hazardous waste.
What's happening on the 17th?
Oh, sorry, the acronym is probably jargon. It's the Household Hazardous Waste and Electronic
Okay,
Equipment
good. I
Recycling
thought,
Events.
good,
Yes,
counting
yeah.
on that.
The 17th and the 24th.
Yes.
What you got,
Same time, same location.
Mel, do we need to, I'd signed up for the 10th. Do we need to re-sign up for the 24th, or how is that being handled?
So Veolia should be supplying all the volunteers. That's what we kind of said to them in the meeting, that since they're giving us pretty last minute notice, that they should be supplying those people. We haven't got confirmation about that yet, but if there are openings, I'll let you know between that. But if you did sign up for the 10th, please still come to the volunteer appreciation for the 17th.
Question?
Yeah, so on the website, I think it's still showing the old dates and not the new reschedule.
It does have the new ones on there.
The registration
The front
form.
page does, but not if you go to the sustainability page. I think so on the main page, it shows the current dates, but it's wrong on the older page.
Oh, okay, I'll definitely let our communications team know that.
Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. I looked at it before tonight, and it does, at least the volunteer sign up still shows the old dates.
Oh, okay,
Just-
I'll fix
just
that.
FYI.
It's the same page that says the stuff about the Christmas light contest, that old
This is-
green
got
page.
it.
I can try to find it too and send it to you.
No, I know that webpage like the back of my hand at this point. Anything else on this one?
Looking forward to it.
Okay, cool, because the next one is follow-ups, and I think this can be pretty fast too. I said reference memo just because I think that's easier, so I wanted to follow up from some of the questions that you all had last time. One was, what would the commission have to do if they were interested in the Sustainable Landscape Awards, which it seemed like there was a decent bit of you that were. So essentially for that, you guys would just have to kind of create more of like kind of a vision shaping out what that would look like. And then I can relay that to Tim Dodd, and then Tim Dodd and Sean can kind of let council know in their reports. And then when that gets kind of the green light, that can get brought back to the commission. But just more kind of like thought out of what that would be. Any questions there?
Study group opportunity. Was there any? I'm very interested in this. I have to give a shout out and credit to Dana. Her idea. Is there anyone else that's interested in maybe putting together like a rough draft of what this would look like? So I'm happy to work. I myself am happy to work with you on that, or take a stab at drafting that with telling Dana with her consultation. But if there's anybody else interested in that, maybe we could do a study group and then report back in October. Otherwise, I can run point on that. Go for it. Got it. We'll do it. Cool. Well, thanks for that update, Mel. I am very excited about that. I'd love to see that.
Great. And then we have a lot of exciting stuff around the energy reduction ideas that you all gave last time. I hope you know I always follow up on all your ideas. So the multifamily mailers, that was, or the survey, that was, I think, Logan, it was your recommendation. I reached out to Excel, and they have a multifamily program that's really awesome, like free energy audits, free LED lights, like it just seems like a no-brainer. There's no cost to it. And so Excel Energy is going to cover the full cost to send out mailers to the multifamily buildings that we have that are eligible for the program. And on it, we're going to have a unique URL to see kind of how many clicks did we get from that unique mailer. And again, it's completely covered by Excel. So that should go out within the next few months. For residential education and outreach, that was something that was brought up here as well. Excel said, heck yes, they would love to do that. Again, they would pay for everything, bring people to a spot, bring refreshments, bring everything. But I wanted your all feedback on one suggestion from Excel was that sometimes it works to join like an already established group, like say the Sustainability Commission, where people already are going to show up and have it done there. They said, but they can also see it being its own separate event. So I wanted your opinion on that. I think that was the main one. And then location ideas as well.
Mel, so you're just determining whether we would hold it as part of the sustainability committee at one of our existing meetings possibly?
So it doesn't even have to be, they just said if you guys know of, if you all know of, an ongoing meeting that you think would be appropriate, but it doesn't have to be at an ongoing meeting. It can be its own standalone event. If you all think it would be really well attended, it's just really your opinions, because I'm fine going either direction.
Dana?
Mel, I was just thinking if this could be connected with the community groups that do their block parties, and maybe reach out to those groups to see if they want these workshops.
I think, and I can follow up on this, that it would be kind of like a one, not a multiple, just because it would be Excel staff time. But I'm not for sure on that. I can definitely ask.
No, that makes sense. I just was thinking those are already kind of cohesive groups.
Now, how would they like for such an event?
They didn't tell me a time frame. I would assume it would be like 1 to 2 hours. They just kind of go over like beginner knowledge on energy efficiency stuff, and also resources that people can take advantage of.
I would go. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit. I'd love to have Excel come talk to us like in November about a train the trainer.
So that was the other option. So that would be the separate option. Excel also said they could come speak to the Sustainability Commission and do like a train the trainer kind of mini session where they educate the Sustainability Commission on everything that's out there that people can take advantage of. And then you all could go out into the community and kind of share that knowledge. You all can decide to do one, both, really up to you all, whatever direction you would like to take.
We're open meeting, so if we did that, why wouldn't we invite the general community to our meeting and maybe dedicate a meeting to that topic? So you kill two birds with one stone. This is a nice room. So if you said, we're gonna have a meeting and a presentation, and we're gonna tell people in Inglewood they're invited. I don't know how many people would show up.
I don't either, but I'm
I
going
mean,
to find out.
I guess it would be good if lots of people showed up.
And that could be one avenue is, I'm just thinking, doing the trainer as one, seeing who shows up. And if it is really highly attended, maybe that residential
Shift gears.
efficiency workshop.
Yeah, I like that idea. Could I, when we do the Excel comes to talk to us, I'd love for that to have a little bit extra public outreach, maybe leading up to that meeting, if we are going to test run it. If we could get, 5, 10 folks in addition to our group, I think that's a success. I'd love to see more than that too. Rick?
Is there any way that maybe after something like that, that we could then put together bullet points of the things which they came up with, and then possibly put it on the sustainability page, and then put it on Nextdoor, et cetera, to go to that? Because I think a lot of people do that. They'll click on those things, and that would get that message out then to everybody else also.
I could see it being like an Inglewood engaged sustainability portion and then having the follow-ups there. I think that would be.
I think it's a great use of the website
I think that would be
space.
good.
But I guess we'd be sponsoring the meeting. So it's something, we took the initiative to sponsor the meeting. And the other thing is, I don't know if we couldn't have a mini meeting and let the community see, explain to the visitors what we're up to, keep it short, and then shift gears and say, let's listen to Excel and let's do the program. But brought to you by the Sustainability Commission.
Yeah, I think that would raise some awareness of us too, the work that we're doing. I like that idea, Mike. Let's talk more about that. We can finalize some stuff. You have some notes down, Mel, that you need from us? Okay.
So is that, we can table this too until we get to October ideas, but is that something that you all want to do for like October, November, or?
Probably November, because I have some other ideas I'd like to pitch for October. Can we start there?
If we wait until December 2023, we would have all the incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act for energy efficiency for households, which could be good to present that information. And that's in that 700-page bill, but we might not be able to dissect it all by the next month or so, but it would be nice to say, yes, this is good to do, and if you do it, you can get a $2,000 tax credit for doing so, and have those facts in front of us. And I wanted to say, Excel, through their Partners in Energy program with Inglewood, did do workshops, I think a series of 4 of them, Littleton and Inglewood together. They did 2 on energy efficiency, 2 on solar, and different libraries and places around town. And I feel like they got about a dozen people each time. And so I would love to see standing room only, but maybe when you said an extra 5 to 10 people, that might be more how it happens. But that's a good start.
Christine, it might be, we could ask Excel to give us an update on the new federal legislation, because they've got scads of people on their staff probably studying that on a daily basis. So whatever month it would be, maybe they could give us as far as we know, here's our best update as of today. I would find that interesting.
And we'd want to link it with what incentives they have and what incentives Inglewood could offer through our, what's it called? E3.
I was gonna say weatherization program, I'm like, that's Arapahoe County.
Well, both. I think we'd want information on both, not just here's what you should do, but here's how you get most of it paid for. And then last thought I had, in addition to the idea of a standalone meeting led by Excel or something, they seem to think, could we link on with something else? I don't know if there's anything at the schools where they might have some sort of evening event that we could tack on an extra half an hour for something that people are already there at the school for, in order to try to get some more people. I have no idea what that would be, but it's possible the school would be having an event or a party of some sort.
I can have some, EPS is actually gonna be on the EV Action Plan Planning Committee, so when I meet with them, I can ask them. Cause I think I think schools are a great common ground for things.
Yeah. Rick, what you got?
I recommend we do this the coldest month of the year. Incentivize people to want to come.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to a December, January meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
I'm ready for
Thank
that.
you, Mel. And who runs holiday lights?
And then the other question we got was just who runs the holiday light judging, and that is the Neighborhood Resource Program. That's Madeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I thought it was Rachel Palia, but yes, it is.
I'm grandfathered in as a judge though, right? We talked about this.
Yeah.
Forever judge.
Forever judge, perennial judge of holiday lights.
Great. Any other questions on that follow-up? That's all I got.
It's 7:56. You know, I have 20 minutes to this next piece. I think we can distill it down quite a bit. Basically, what I wanted to do is take the whiteboard projects that we produced in July, I believe. And after talking with Mel, if we want to formally involve ourselves with any project in the community or take on a new project, we basically need to link that directly to an existing subsection of the city's sustainability plan. So I took a stab at doing that. Mel, I don't know if you can pull that up. And I just want to quickly run through the, I don't know, 15 projects just really quickly and see if y'all agree with my assignments to those sustainability plan focus areas. So I'm going to rattle through these, keep up, and just speak your mind if you think it should go somewhere else. So first area of focus that was listed was climate change and air quality. I have the EV action plan. If we're going to do any work on that in the future or advise on that, I think this is the appropriate area of focus in the city's strategic plan for that. Does anyone disagree with that? Climate change and air quality.
Can you zoom in?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to rattle, so y'all stop me. Under built environment and infrastructure, we talked about solar connectivity incentives and then a GIS blacktop survey done by the city. I put these under number 2. Are there any thoughts that they should go somewhere else? Mike, none?
Just so they're there.
Okay. Number 3 was community resilience. I had, this is a project I'd like to take on, is continuing developing a connection and communication with the neighborhood groups. I'm regularly emailing with Madeline Hinkfist as she runs the neighborhood network program. I forget resource program. There should be a September meeting that I plan on attending. Anyway, I think that could go under community resilience. That could go somewhere else. Feel free to chime in. A running page was discussed for the Sustainability Commission in the Inglewood Citizen, which I believe is quarterly. Is that quarterly? I love that idea, having a page of information of projects that we're prioritizing or things that we're wanting to work on, or you know, highlights of some of our meetings that we've had over the course of the quarter. Cafe 180 is something I mentioned that I caught a flyer from Cafe 180. They do a summer sustainability program. Really neat. We missed the opportunity, and that's on me on timing to potentially collaborate with them. I put that under community resilience. And then any and all public education that we do, one-pagers. Mel, that's copy and pasted from previous notes. But any one-pagers that we want to put or resources that we want to put on our Engage site or distribute to the general public, I put under community resilience. I might be misdefining that, but that's where I'm at.
Cafe 180 went through our, we did outreach for them for our business blitz, and they went through our energy audit, and they're gonna get some free lights, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that. Economic resilience. Rick, this might have been something that you were touching on. You had a theme with ideas for partnering not only with the city or nonprofits, but with small businesses. And I think this fit right into number 4. And I'd be excited to continue to flesh that out over the coming months. Energy efficiency. So grants for smart homes, water meters, solar panels, infrastructure, advocating letters of support. I think that clearly went under energy efficiency, in my opinion. Natural environment, there were.
Logan, sorry, really quick. When you say grants for smart homes, do you mean that the city would provide grants for smart homes?
Or develop a grant program, yeah. I think
The city does have the E3 program for the low-income energy efficiencies.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I would put that here. You could even type that into
I
that.
think that would be a better fit than what's written there.
Feel free to red mark
Because
this.
Excel already has EV infrastructure grants, rebates for existing homes. Solar panels, the grid is already getting to 80% renewable by 2030, so that I feel like is well on its way.
Right.
Without extra support. Water meters definitely.
So
And
keep
then
water
weatherization
meters.
definitely.
Maybe strike EV, did you say strike EV infrastructure?
I would strike EV infrastructure and solar panels.
Okay, for water meters.
And weatherization.
Would you keep those there as education instead of grants?
Yeah,
Um,
right.
grants / education. Do we need to remove grants? I think there's an opportunity for us to at least write letters of support when grants become available. For some of
Grants
these.
from who, you mean like
The state, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can remove IDs or support.
Well, on the energy, the E3 program, maybe it would be worth looking at what all is currently we're allowed, we do with those funds typically, and if there's anything that could be added in terms of with the smart home stuff or any of that. Like if we could expand on what's already there, it'd be interesting to look at and see what options are available.
Yeah, I like that.
Adding heat pumps would be great.
Okay, so that's appropriate for energy efficiency. Good. Natural environment, 802. I've mentioned House Bill 1151 a number of times the last couple of months. I'm very eager to pursue a letter of support. That's something we can continue to talk about the next few months because that's not going to come online from the Colorado Conservation Board until June or July of 2023. So we've got some time there. Natural environment seemed like a natural fit, for lack of a better term. Annual Sustainable Landscape Awards, natural environment. Tree planting day with the city, I think was something that was brought up by Cara. Open space grants, varying tiers. I've had conversations with Dana and Cara about the county applying not only for the bigger, I think plus 300,000, but some of the middle and lower tiers. So I'd like to continue to flesh that out. I think that's best fit under natural environment if we ever wanted to write a letter of recommendation or something. Sustainable landscaping education. We put one-pagers up under community resilience, I think, or public education in general, but this was something I had written on the whiteboard and I thought it was a good fit here.
We are updating our website and the sustainability and it's a big update and it's awesome. Lucy is crushing it. That should be done at the end of September and that is going to have some resources to sustainable landscaping, but after that gets published, I mean, I'm always open ears for
adding
or feedback or whatever.
We should make a point to do that then. Okay, clean and connected transportation was number 7. Rebate program. Love that you mentioned that, Councilman Anderson. Selfishly, I want to see the city pursue that because I want an e-bike. Talked with Mike at Link about this. He's shown me his. I'm bought in this thing. I'd love for the city to have maybe a matching program or something. And so I think that was from a Senate bill passed this last legislative session. It was 219 or something. So it was included in that. I'd like to explore that. I'd love to continue continue the conversation about mobility and walkability and things like that. EV action plan, I had a question mark here. You can remove it since we agreed to put it somewhere further up. We can remove B there, Mel.
Remove it here.
Yes, because I think
I feel like it still fits under,
can it be both?
can it, right? It's, I mean, it's.
I like it here.
Oh, I didn't know we could be duplicative. That's great. Okay. Waste and recycling, composting with the city. I don't think we got an update on that tonight,
The
but
grant was submitted. We found out in October.
October, okay, we'll bring it up then. So that went under waste and recycling. And then what do I have here? Composting, recycling for city events was brought up during our July meeting. So encouraging and seeing composting and recycling bins at the block party, at the city providing them for neighborhood nights nights out, things like that, community events. And then HHW event went under waste and recycling, I think for obvious reasons. Lastly, wrap this up, water protection, rain barrel program, rain harvesting programs were brought up. I think we can, as a commission, talk more about that. I think it has an interesting relationship with, I think other cities have run into some roadblocks, maybe with Colorado water law and what that looks like. But we can talk more about that in the future. And then finally, a GIS turf survey across the city to see where potentially we can xeriscape or put native landscaping in, similar to what you see at Depot Park.
I will say I'm looking into a grant right now for a rain barrel workshop. So that is TBD.
I would love to attend that.
They would be fully covered, so fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. So that's where we're at. And I do want to pitch it to Mike real quick. I know it's 8:06. And to just give us a quick update, because I didn't include the Cherokee lot on this because there's some communication. So please go ahead.
Cushing Park is moving ahead. Meg Donaldson is the leader of the pack. They've got some grant dollars. They're going to do a little neighborhood library stand, some potted plants, some benches, some painted designs on the blacktop. So anyways, it's a small step, but it's a significant step. Might be an opportunity for some of us to cooperate in a month or so, because there will be some planting and some dirt and some things. It'd be nice to show them support that we think it's pretty cool what they're doing.
Yeah, be some volunteer if you're going to go get your hands dirty and
Ride your e-bike if we
yeah.
We could go around.
The thing's sturdy.
Okay.
Any other thing? Thank you for that update. Any other projects that are just top of mind that have been burning since we've revisited this?
Well, could I mention a couple of things?
I would love it. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of things upcoming on city council that I would love to get the sustainability commission's input on. Even if they're not like in the in the typical bullseye of what you think about as sustainability. We're doing our Code Next project where we're rewriting our development code for the whole city. That that's kind of the intersection of housing and parking and transportation, and all these things come together in there. And I think how your city is shaped is probably a neglected aspect of sustainability, but has a huge impact. I mean, if you have a city where everybody just wants to walk around, and it's built with the right levels of housing and density in the right places, and minimize parking lots that you have to cross and that kind of thing. I think that's really huge. So I'd love to, before we get into the place where city council is or even the planning and zoning commission is voting on these things, that the sustainability commission has a chance to kind of review the Code Next project and some of the recommendations in there. Is that
Brian Isham is gonna loop in the sustainability commission. He didn't tell me when.
Okay.
About Code Next. I think he's gonna present some high level stuff, but you make a great point that I need to follow up with him and ask kind of when that would be.
Okay.
Do we have a rough timeline on the Code Next? Is someone be sure about code, or you can answer that?
Well, the original plan was to have it all passed by the end of the year. That's not going to happen. So early next year is probably when the city council is going to be voting on stuff. So you back up 2 or 3 months from that, and that's when we should start getting to the draft proposal phase, which is where you would want to weigh in on that. So, yeah.
Okay. If you'll provide a
Yeah.
and before we finalize our October agenda. Thank you for that. Yeah. Yes, Christine?
I was out of town for that July meeting. Could I email Mel a few extra things that would go on this, fit in on this list?
Yeah.
Given time?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. Christine, follow-up projects. Anybody, for that matter, please. I wanted to establish a running list.
The other thing was also to weigh in on the redevelopment plan. Because you guys already have some ideas on that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, but it'd be good to have, that's something I really love the commission. It's just not, instead of, certainly having lots of projects coming up that you guys are working on independently, but also weighing in on things that the council is.
This is our running list. Let's keep adding to it. If you want to champion something, great. And we'll continue to check in and see, progress updates on some of these. So mill these over. Okay, let's talk October real quick. So I ran into George. I don't know his last name, Mel. I forget. But he is the owner of Grow Gather.
Gastus.
Yes, George Gastus. Wonderful guy. I ran into him having coffee, and then I also ran into him at the block party. And if you have not been to Grow Gather or the Feedery, it's an awesome little restaurant right between Craig and Swedish on Hamden. And I thought that it's so cool. You just need to go check it out. They have their full greenhouse. It is farm to table, if you will, about as farm to table as you get. They're doing a lot of great sustainable related initiatives. So taking them on. I would love for us to go have a meeting there. And I pitched it to George, and he was all ears and said, yes, great, come. If you want to have dinner, great. He would have a space for us. We could tour the restaurant, see the greenhouse. And I just thought that would be pretty neat. And we could have a formal meeting there. We could do a quick tour, chat with George a little bit, hear from him, and then have a formal commission meeting there. And I just wanted to pitch the idea. I've talked to Mel a little bit. She or I can follow up with George, but would that be of interest? Would that be a neat sort of proxy location to have a meeting? It is, I think, an Inglewood staple. And they just have great food and good coffee.
Idea.
Very cool.
So if we want, one of us can follow up with George. And
I got it.
Thanks. So that could be October, and the content of that, if you have ideas for October, please pitch them to Mel. I think that's the right avenue to go first before me. And then we can get that finalized over the course of the next few weeks. That's it. I do want to take a moment. We have Kathleen and Dana here, and just have maybe a few minutes to hear public forum, public thoughts. Dana, you have a question?
Well, I was just going to give my thoughts.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll be pretty brief about the water plan, and I'll send you all a follow-up email in more detail.
Okay.
The plan does not reduce Inglewood's water footprint, and this is unusual in this water reality that we're in. I think it's unusual for a city efficiency plan in Colorado right now. What I see reading, and that's not easily apparent because it focuses on the 6% reduction with this 1% reduction a year, but that's while population grows by 1%. So water use actually increases somewhat in our projections in this plan. The programs that there is a commitment to and where money is allocated reflect a priority of supporting reducing water use amongst municipal water use. That's where the programs are. Supporting residential water conservation is not a priority in this plan. And there are just so many tools being left out of this, proven tools. And one of you, I think Mike, asked about low-hanging fruit. That's education. And I think people really want education about how to lower their water bills. And we, in 10 days of registration, 26 people signed up for the tour at Depot Park to learn how to do this at home. And this budget, in a $9 million budget, $22,000 is allocated for education. And in a very passive, it's websites, it's not active community engagement education. And where we can have impact, so 37% of the water use is single family residents, and about half of that goes to landscape irrigation. So that's the biggest bang for the buck. And finally, I'll say, well, I mentioned tiered pricing because that's something a lot of cities do to incentivize conservation. Their efficiency plan is guided by the Colorado Water Conservation Board's municipal water efficiency plan guidance, and that guide has much more ambitious goals than I see reflected in this. I won't go into the details of that, but I'll just say I feel like what Joe said about how the budget, how the pricing that has been determined for water is what a lot of our city's budgeting is based on. I just have to say, it makes me think that that's why there's no commitment to actually reducing water use. And that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Mike, I support what Dan is saying. I get back to our role. She just gave us 3 or 4 bullet points. Instead of a resolution and a recommendation, it could simply be a position statement that this Sustainability Commission has a position. It's 1 page, it's an outline. It doesn't have to be a book. But for the record, we should communicate to City Council, assuming we have a consensus or we can all agree on what we want to say, this is our position. And like I said, she just gave us 4 or 5 bullet points that I would agree to. It's our position, it should be more aggressive. It's our position, not enough is on land. Isn't that okay, Joe? As a Sustainability Commission, can't we offer an opinion and City Council can take it or leave it or mull it over or disagree with it? At least you're aware.
Yeah, I was just looking at, I was trying to look at the council calendar to see when that water efficiency plan was going to go to be approved by council, and I didn't see it on there. I just want to make sure you guys get a chance to, I would just, something that occurred to me after the fact was when they were here presenting it, you could have, it would have been possible to just put together a statement and say, hey, could you include this in, in the memo when it comes before council, this is but maybe need a little more time to think about that or something, but you get at the October meeting, you could certainly, or somebody draft ahead of time, a little, addendum to the memo to say, here's input from the Sustainability Commission on this proposal. You don't have to pass a resolution or anything like that. Just send it on to the water department and ask them to include it in the memo.
I think we do that. Do you want maybe you and Dan, or just whoever wants to draft?
I know Rick is passionate for it. I do.
Okay.
Maybe Deanna could chime in even if we could just share drafts, because her bullet points are better articulated by Deanna. But 1 page.
You need to be looped in for that.
For shared do you know if a shared document is okay for a commission?
Not more than 2 people. We're not looking at it.
Got email. We can just send it by email.
Just do it by
email.
I can ask the city attorney too.
The next meeting is October 11th. They said it was a 60-day period, and if it was posted on the August 18th, our meeting on the 11th should be right within that deadline, the 60-day deadline. I think we bring this up as an October agenda item with the statement that you guys create with whomever, with Dana. And then we bring some thoughts about feedback to the water plan that was sent to us tonight, and we can pass that along, pass it up the chain. Kathleen, is there, I don't want to put you on the spot,
Oh,
but
no,
what's,
I
anything from,
knowledge and sophistication. I mean, I am humbled by this group and extremely excited by this group. And I'm not even on the first rung of the knowledge and sophistication that I've heard and the way you guys articulate all this stuff. And I'm just throwing out stuff about solar power and being aggressive
Love it.
about it. And that's all I have, you know, so it's like, wow. So I have very little, I have a great deal I can learn. If you guys don't mind, if I'm just a quiet.
No, you can't be quiet.
No, well, but
It's a
can I
public meeting,
just?
so you're always.
These are open meetings, these are open meetings.
Can I attend?
Yes, these are always
Can
open
I
to the
always
public.
attend?
Yes.
oh, you were
Yeah,
encouraged.
I'm mostly
already.
thinking that it's mostly, for me, I'm learning, it's like, wow.
that's
This was just this one little, just who you had speaking tonight and hearing it in this venue and the response, it almost makes me want to cry. But it's very encouraging, very exciting, and I have a great deal to learn, and it makes me aware of just how little I know. So about what's happening in this city and how coordinated everything is. So it's actually extremely encouraging and a lot of relief a little bit because
Well,
anyway, so that's,
thank you for that. You're gonna make me
Well, no,
talk.
I am sincere about that, and thank you.
You can tell. That's why we exist. So please continue to attend and please continue to be a voice for
As
Inglewood.
minuscule as it can be, I don't know what else I could contribute,
It
but
holds
wow.
weight, it holds weight here, and I just want you to know that. If there's no other thoughts, we can, it's 8:20, we can wrap it up. Anything else? For the good
Can
of
I
the order?
clarify, did you want us to meet ahead of the October meeting and kind of bring some ideas to the group? Bullet point thing we were talking about, is that what you're envisioning?
Yes, if
A
you,
draft
if you want to
position.
draft it, take the bullet points that, you know, whatever else you want to add to that, Rick and Mike, and bring that to us.
Okay.
And we can
Yeah.
redline and we
Look
can,
at it, yeah,
we
right.
can send it out. You know,
No,
if
if you
there's
can
consensus.
help us coordinate.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Zoom meeting or just share messages, but I think we could do it in short order.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
it should take.
Yeah, I'd love
And
to.
sending it to us like a week ahead of time with the materials is really helpful.
Yes, it is.
Rather than us redlining them.
Yeah, during, and that's efficient, that's more efficient for us too. Great, well, we got some October ideas. I would love for us to meet and go together. Let's see if we can follow up with George and go from there. But, we'll hear from Mel the next couple of weeks and we'll go from there. Thank you guys for the longer meeting tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, wait, you have
Oh, wait, I
to-
need to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. Great, by Mike. Thank you all. Appreciate it, guys.
Started it, I would have been the motion too.
Cute, getting in the.
Thanks, Logan. Good
Oh,
meeting.
that was great, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate the discourse. Can I?
Can you help initiate structure?
Oh,